This situation is, by the way, the way you laid that out there, how you kind of set the table with everything, that was all beautifully done, and it really kind of painted the picture of everything. One thing I like to do with stuff like this is I try to look at it from all angles, just to see why a situation like this would even occur. And Sasha Banks was in a very similar type storyline 2 years ago when her and Bayley were the tag team champions and they were going after the Raw Women's Champion that Asuka had. So like, this is something that Sasha Banks has done. So it does kind of make me wonder what else is going on as to why they are so frustrated. One thing I thought about, when you brought this up in the notes as far as what we were going to talk about during this past year, Charlotte Flair, who gets a bad rep, but she truly is the opportunity in WWE. Regardless of how you feel about her, her matches are a big deal, and her presence is already being felt. By the way, let me just throw that out there. She had two stories going with Sasha Banks and Naomi, where she was, her title was a part of the story with both of them, and both of those ladies got put on the back burner by one Ronda Rousey. No reparations there for the ladies. But, so maybe that's kind of where, and that kind of got me thinking, maybe that's kind of where this is all stemming from, because, they both got it. And they both like, all right, you know what, we'll take this on the chin. We'll try to revitalize the tag titles. Well, they get the big moment, and they're doing a fine job. I'm not quite as high. I wasn't as high on the team at first, but they've definitely gelled. They've done a lot to incorporate tag team maneuvers. Their matches are better than the normal WWE women's tag team matches are. So there's definitely like the effort they put into it. And I wonder if it is kind of what you were saying, they don't feel like they're being rewarded after they've already been shafted from Ronda Rousey. And I saw the working plan was Naomi to face Bianca, Sasha to face Ronda Rousey. Sounds kind of cool. You have the tag champions doing that, but like you said, it puts the tag titles on ice. Are you going to let them do double duty? Are you going to let them defend the tag titles in the opening match and then they go and try to win the titles? Because that's a nice story. Because then you're not only defending your tag titles, you're keeping the tag division relevant. Now you're also telling nuanced stories there. And those are little things, but they're not doing that. They're just doing exactly what you said. The old movie trope was, you put the wife in the freezer. That's essentially what they were doing with the tag titles. That's a spot on call right there. And it really, to me, that has to be what it is. Sasha Banks has always been about this tag division. She's always been high on, like, you could tell that's always been something that's been important to her. Her relationship with FTR, like, all of that means something. All of that is relevant in this. I have to feel like, and like none of us know, but to go from, because Sasha Banks is a game changer. Like, if she leaves, that is a huge, huge blow. I talk about Charlotte Flair being the opportunity and all this stuff, and yeah, her presence is missed and is being felt now. But Sasha Banks leaves and goes to an AEW, because you would be an idiot not to sign her, and Tony Khan's not an idiot. Sasha Banks is a game changer. Like, she is somebody who changes the landscape. Like, I'm not making that as a hyperbole or any, like, I mean what I say. She is a game changer. She changes the landscape. She becomes arguably, outside of CM Punk, the most popular wrestler on the entire brand in AEW, in my opinion. Like, I don't think WWE truly realizes the pull and the attraction that Sasha Banks has from all levels, all ages, all genders, all walks. Like, I can't stress enough how major this is. Like, you compared this to Stone Cold walking out, and people may kind of roll their eyes and be like, what are you talking about? Sasha Banks she can be like that. Like, she's that level of a star. And I genuinely believe, like, some of SmackDown's biggest ratings came with her feud with Bayley. You know what I mean? Like, some of the greatest moments in WWE history involve Sasha Banks. Some of the greatest moments in North American women's wrestling history involve Sasha Banks. You can't tell the story of the women's revolution without Sasha Banks. You can't tell that story. Like, what she has meant to WWE can't be replicated, man. Like, I'm bending over backwards to keep her. So I like, what happened in that meeting to make them drop the titles and walk out? Naomi's fine. She'll be fine too. And she has a lot of support because she's got the Uso and she's got the Roman. Like, they're going to support their family. But she's not a game changer. She'll be like Ruby Soho. She'll have a nice debut and then she'll be on AEW Dark and Elevation and she'll probably end up being with Swerve and Keith Lee, knowing how they do. But Sasha Banks, that is a game changer and is somebody that can be the face of your brand. I like, what happened in the room, that, you know, so the old Hamilton song, you know, whatever happened in the room, I want to be in the room where it happens. Like, what happened in that room? It's
Raw. And Stone Cold was on the cover, photoshopped, of course. And they had on the t-shirt, not what, but why. Why did he walk out? What led up to it? It was a hit piece of hit pieces. Between that and WWE Confidential, they raked that man through the coals. And in 2022, the way the WWE was responding with Sasha and Naomi, we're just going to wipe you off from history. You don't exist. And I just want to know what you want to know. What happened? What led up to this moment? And then I got this news alert from Tony Storm that was doing an interview with AEW Unrestricted. And then you really find out some inner workings of creative that has not really changed in the last 10 or so years. And that the initial pitch of the pie throwing incident was not the first idea of having a pie thrown in her face. It was, hey, Tony, do you mind if we rip off your shirt and expose your bra in 2021 to forward an angle? So if that is the pitch going on behind the scenes with Tony Storm, what the hell is going on with Sasha and Naomi? What ideas are you cooking up that they're not feeling that is as bad, if not worse than that? So it was an accumulation of stuff happening behind the scenes, I believe, that would lead to a walkout. And you get tired of people trying to tell you how to act, how to be, how to take what you're given. You reach a breaking point. Seth Rollins even admitted that I wanted to punch out Vince with that Fiend shit at Hell in a Cell nearly 3 years ago. He didn't do it, of course, but you do feel that frustration. They all have to have that smile and that company logo saying, we love WWE, we love them. And Sasha tweets, I love Vince, thank you, Vince. But at some point, you do get tired of this. And there is a subset of stars in the back that love what they do. The catering is fantastic. They're content. But there's a flip side to this, and it applies to Sasha Banks, and I think it applies to Naomi as well. They take this shit seriously. This is art for them. They take value in these tag team titles. You put us together for a reason. You iced us out of key matches for this year's WrestleMania. So we're going to make this thing work. We were making it work. And now you think you're rewarding us for giving us 2 title matches that we're going to lose and that you're going to put our titles on ice. The preferred outcome for us would be to elevate Doudrop and Nikki Ash, bring her back as Nikki Cross, and they can have great matches on pay-per-view and television, because you don't see us as being those major champions right now. You put us together as a tag team for a reason. It's not 2 years ago when the clear story was Sasha going after Bayley's SmackDown Women's Championship. Those tag team titles were amplified because they defended on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, pay-per-views. They gave Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax that shine in 2 championship matches. Those titles were relevant 2 years ago. And when you say to Sasha and Naomi, hey, you know, Ronda's coming back, here's your backup plan, you take it, you run with it, and you try your damnedest to get these titles over. Sasha's doing press everywhere from Fenway Park to Paris with Naomi, and they're showcasing their championships on their backs. So what's up with that? Why can't you provide them that level of support? Because Sasha's been there, done that, not once, not twice, but 3 times as champion. They got it right a couple of years ago during a pandemic, but now you're trying to backtrack and think you're doing somebody a favor, but saying it's an honor to lose to Ronda Rousey. She lost to her 3 years ago at the Royal Rumble, and she didn't like it then either, and she admits that. It's not her favorite match. It wasn't her favorite opponent. She did her thing, but she wasn't feeling it like that because you knew the outcome would be academic, just like what it would have been next month in Chicago. Because as WWE said, these arena shows don't mean as much as these stadium shows. So why have us in these positions when it really doesn't matter in hindsight? When these titles are on ice again and again and again. There have been cases when the Raw Women's Championship has not been defended on pay-per-view for 6 or more months. The IC title I talked about before our show has not been defended on a pay-per-view since WrestleMania. These tag team titles have not been defended on a pay-per-view since this year's WrestleMania. There is a pattern of secondary titles not being shown love, but when you trust somebody to elevate them and then you backtrack on that, that is where the issues lie. And I could only imagine the headbutting going on behind the scenes before this blow up this past Monday.
You know, at the end of the day, I think a situation like this, and you said this off air again when we were talking, there's a group chat, you know, all the tea is in the group chat. So whenever they feel like spreading the tea with everybody, you know, whenever we have our Boston Tea Party, then we're going to find out what really happened. And it's going to be an interesting day. Or whenever she joins AEW and gets on the Chris Jericho podcast, whichever one of those 2 things happens first. But it's just a crazy situation all around. And there is potential for Sasha Banks, if she wants to stay in wrestling, this could potentially take her to the next level as far as superstar to icon. In all honesty, like this could be that level of that's because of how high I think of Sasha Banks. And what she's been proven to do. Like NXT didn't beat AEW except when Sasha Banks went down and wrestled Io Shirai. It's a proven fact. Rating and demo. She was the demo queen. Bump the demo god. The demo god got shut down. Like by the demo boss. I'm sorry, that was right there. I don't know how I missed that one. It was right there. But you know, that's how I feel about that. Like Sasha Banks is just a game changer, man. And whenever she feels like spilling the tea, if it's in a promo, she's gonna rip WWE apart and she's gonna destroy them. If it's in a podcast, it's gonna be a CM Punk talked about, or no, yes, it's going to be a John Moxley level talked about podcast. Sasha Banks is that big of a deal, man. And I will stand by that.
Absolutely. And another thing to look out for is ratings for Raw and SmackDown. There have been a lot of people saying they're done after this, and we'll see how the female demographics. We'll see
about that.
Now we'll see, but the female demographics, I want to see how that's reflected specifically for SmackDown, because that's a really women-heavy show on Fridays, and it is driven by Sasha Banks in a lot of ways. Now we'll see how much Ronda can carry that on her own when Sasha Banks is not there to level out that star power alongside Naomi. I'm not expecting a full-fledged boycott, but I do wonder how many female viewers who are ride or die Sasha fans are like, well, I'm done until further notice. I'll watch because I still love it. I support the people more so than the company. It's my job as well. But that is going to be telling to see how much those numbers drop in terms of female viewers on SmackDown in the weeks to come due to this indefinite suspension.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. And hey man, don't let this snowball and you start hearing a "We Want Sasha" chants in the arenas, because like I'm telling you, like she has that type of pull. So don't keep going heavy-handed and heavy-fisted with this. You know, you disappointed us, and you know you let down. But don't keep doing that, because that's gonna backfire, and you're gonna have a "We Want Sasha" raining down throughout all your women's matches, and Bianca Belair don't deserve that. That's not the reparation she deserved. You already took out 2 of my sisters. Don't be doing that to my girl Bianca too.
No, that's not right. And they just took the photo like less than 2 months ago with their championship. So that turned fast. And I just hope that the fans out there don't tag people saying, why haven't you said anything? We just mentioned group chat. That group chat is lit right now with a lot of tea being spilled. And at some point, Naomi and Sasha will say something about it, because you cannot let WWE control this narrative for too much longer. Something's up. Somebody knows the true tea of what happened. We'll find out eventually. And I'm very shocked that WWE is tripling down on this, because they think they won't speak up and really say what's going on behind the scenes. You think Sasha Banks hasn't endured shit in the last 10 years in this company? You think that bad booking has led to one incident of just saying, I'm done? No, this is an accumulation of shit that has been going on from her tenure on the main roster in the last 7 years or so, back and forth. I saw the WWE Chronicle documentary on Sasha Banks nearly 3 years ago, when she said that she lost sight of who she was, that Sasha Banks was seeping into her everyday life and she lost Mercedes, and she's not going to do that again. So be very careful in how you handle this, WWE. You're wiping people off websites, signature openings, history perhaps, is not going to play too kindly to you if they know exactly how you work behind the scenes. And I got 3 people I got my eyes on: Bruce Pritchard, Johnny Ace, and Vince McMahon, and probably alongside Kevin Dunn. Some of y'all did something. Somebody said something out of pocket. And I want to know who, and I want to know as soon as possible whenever the ladies are ready to say their piece, because I know something led up to this beyond what happened on Monday. You don't drop those titles like that and say you're done. You don't leave during a live show for nothing. Something happened that built up to this powder keg going off, and it's laying at the feet of Vince McMahon and seeing how much he's going to triple down and how far it goes. Because I think contracts are due too for both Sasha and Naomi, and if they're due soon, they're free agents. And I would wonder to myself, would you even come back after this? Because this is scorched earth stuff when they're basically erasing you from their company.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
All right, so we're going to table that discussion for right now. And you would think that the top story this week, besides this situation involving Sasha Naomi, it would be Stephanie McMahon taking a leave of absence from WWE. She's going to be taking a leave of absence from the company, stepping away from her day-to-day duties as chief brand officer. And at first I thought to myself,